Hello everyone, welcome to our first live. How exciting. I'm just gonna go ahead and pull in Sarah here, one seckie. I'm so excited to speak to Sarah about and I myself have two Dachshunds who are so difficult, so I'm really excited to get her input on our situation, and I'm sure if you're a dog owner, pop your questions through here and I'll send them through to Sarah and we can get some answers hopefully. Let's see if this works. And I'm sure you've all noticed my accent. I'm Courtney. I'm the Door Buddy marketing manager and I'm from South Africa. So excuse the accent. I know this must sound quite strange. Let's see, accept here. Sorry, we're just waiting for Instagram to let Sarah in through this call. Let's see what's happening. Sorry, obviously when we do our first live... there we go. I was just saying, like, obviously when we do our first live, it doesn't let you in.
Right, of course.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day.
I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, awesome. Well, I've kind of given everyone a little preface to our conversation. I explained why I sound so strange being from South Africa. But I'm Courtney, the Door Buddy's marketing manager. But Sarah, we're here to talk to you. You're the star of the show. So do you want to give us a little background about what you do and who you are and everything in your business?
Absolutely. So I'm Sarah Miles, and I own Smiles Dog Training in Phoenix, Arizona. And I specialize in working with fearful, reactive, aggressive dogs and growing families who may have dogs and cats and kids. And I love doing that. My services are offered through virtual training as well as online courses and in-person training for those that are local to the Phoenix, Arizona region.
Oh, that's so awesome. When you said you work with aggressive and reactive dogs, my ears immediately popped up. So I was like, yes, we have so much to talk about.
Absolutely.
Oh, God. So earlier I mentioned to anyone who's recently joining, if you have any questions, do pop them in the comments below. We are giving away a free Door Buddy to a lucky person who submits a question. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's jump into, So Sarah, I mean, I have two Dachshunds, right? And they couldn't be more far apart from one another. I mean, the one hates dogs, and whenever we take him out for a walk on the lead, he just reacts and goes nuts. And then the other one was abused, and he hates humans. My husband is married for like 6 years, and he still reacts to my husband, still barks. And I'm sure a lot of people who have rescue dogs have similar experiences to this. Is there anything that you would recommend people do when we've got anxious dogs like that?
Yes, there's a lot of things. So the first thing that I always recommend people get really well acquainted with is body language of dogs and how they communicate. Because a lot of times we can see, as we learn body language, the more subtle signs that are really precursors to these bigger reactive, fearful behaviors. And if we can start to identify those tiny little things like a lip lick or an ear flick that usually precedes that sort of stuff, we can say, oh, I'm seeing my dog is uncomfortable. I'm going to change the situation. I'm going to give them some instruction to help them through this before we've kind of they're going all out and everything's kind of a lost cause and we just need to get out of there as fast as possible, right? So that's the number one. And I absolutely recommend working on building skills. Because a lot of times our dogs are just doing what comes naturally to them. They're saying, I don't know what to do in this situation. I'm going to do that typical behavior that a dog would do. And it's usually not what we want them to do. So if we build their skills, then they're going to have better ideas about what they should be doing in any given situation.
Okay, so from my experience, I also have a toddler, so I know it's very odd comparing a toddler to a dog, but I feel like it is kind of on the same path.
It really is.
Totally. I mean, sometimes you've got to reward and you've got to acknowledge the good behavior to curb the bad behavior, right? That's what I do with my son, and I do that with my dogs too. So
yeah,
that's something that you recommend for dog owners, that if you see a repeating behavior, instead of going straight to say, no, don't do that, but rather try and work with him to prevent that behavior from beginning in the first place, and maybe rewarding when they do something different.
Absolutely. We really have to remember that we picked these dogs to come into our home and live the life we're choosing for them. So we want to set them up for success with management, so that can be as simple as, oh, I don't want you in this room, so I'm using a door buddy to keep you out of that litter box. Or it can be, bigger things, making sure that we don't walk right next to this fence because the dog on the other side doesn't like us. So we're going to give more room. Those types of things are management. And then we have to remember that we're asking them to live with us and do things the way we want. So we have to teach them what that looks like. That's where positive reinforcement training comes in. We teach them the skills to be successful. And if we do that right, we're not correcting, because they already know what to do and they're already doing the things that we want them to do, because dogs do what works. And if we show them what works, they're going to be successful.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll definitely try that with my two dogs, but I'm sure each dog is different and each family dynamic is different. So the answers that you're getting are probably just some general pointers, right?
Yes, absolutely. Every situation is different. Every dog is an individual. And everything I'll say today, these are kind of the general, this is where we're going to start. But it doesn't work for every family, every dog. And we want to make sure we do what works for that situation so that we're successful.
So I know for Door Buddy, a lot of people are concerned if you have like a motivated dog that they'll push up against the Door Buddy and ruin their doors. They'll still get into the cat space. And I think people will also see the same thing with muzzles, right? Like if sometimes you have a dog, you put a muzzle on and they just get more agitated. So do you have anything any tips that could help mitigate that fear, or like just help calm down the dog a little bit before getting to those points?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in those situations, we have a dog that's very motivated to do something. And when we just sort of throw the muzzle on, or we just put the door buddy up and expect it to just work, in those situations, our dog is so motivated to do the thing they've been doing that we're still not really addressing that motivation, right? We want to make sure we're addressing the motivation. So if the motivation is, in the situation of the muzzle, the motivation is I just want to pick stuff up off the ground, or I want to create distance from this person or this dog. If we don't address that motivation, we're still going to see the behavior. So we want to make sure we help our dogs feel safe. We give them other things to do if it's, more of that scavenging behavior. And the same thing goes for that door buddy, right? If we're putting it up and our dog is motivated to get in there and get the litter box, then we have to give them another outlet for that scavenging behavior, or whatever may be going on there. And so it's really about thinking, okay, what can I do can I add some more management right now while I'm getting my dog used to this device or management? And can I make sure that I'm adding skills too, right? If my dog's approaching the door with the door buddy on it and I can call them away and redirect them, then I'm not going to have that same level of intensity to try to get through the door, because I've now interrupted the behavior and I'm getting them to go do something else.
Okay, perfect. So I just seen a question come through in terms of enforcement that you speak about. Obviously we can't always be rewarding our dogs with treats all the time, because they might get a little too chunky and there might be a little too much to cuddle, which is never a bad thing. But are there any other ways that we can reward our dogs without necessarily a reward, like a treat?
Absolutely. So realistically, the whole world is full of reinforcers, right? A lot of times when our dogs are trying to, they're trying to get to that bush to smell it or pee on it. That is a reinforcer in itself, right? Having access to that bush and getting to do those behaviors, that's an opportunity to use it as a reinforcer. We can use play as reinforcement. We can use physical touch if our dogs like that as reinforcement. Happy voices, if we pair that with a lot of fun things, we can also involve that in our reinforcement schedule. So it's really, again, about that individual dog and what they're motivated by and using that to our advantage. And also, I will say on food, we don't have to use really big treats. When I'm working with a 50-pound dog, they're probably getting treats the size of my pinky nail, right? I'm just using those treats to say, yes, that was a good job, and keep working, and you're going to keep getting good stuff.
Okay, good. Again, like a toddler.
Exactly.
Distract them with snacks and you'll be okay.
Right.
So just to circle back to, as you said, the dog getting into the litter box and that being a scavenging instinct, a lot of the time what we've done in our research, what we've found in our own experience is that scavenging instinct in the litter box, that is more of like a nutrient deficiency, like diet playing a large part of the dog's behavior.
Absolutely, absolutely. And definitely something to look at is the fact that, one, dogs they absolutely love to work for cat food, right? So it's just kind of the back end of that when they're getting into the litter box. So yes, absolutely. They may be seeking out additional nutrients in that what was food, or they're, there's something in their diet that they're looking for. So they're finding as many opportunities as they can by ingesting things that they shouldn't. So definitely something worth visiting, with the vet if you're seeing that behavior. But sometimes they end up getting in there, they taste it, they're like, oh, this is pretty good. And now it's something that's been rewarded, essentially reinforced, and they're going to keep doing it unless we put management in place and training in place to redirect them to other things.
So I know with some parents, and probably myself, if I saw my dog eating up my cat's litter box, I would be like, freaking so disgusting. Oh my gosh, what is this dog doing? Sometimes the reaction, is that a reinforcement in itself? Because maybe we're making it a bigger deal than it needs to be.
Absolutely. So this is something that a lot of people, they'll have something that the dog is doing that they don't love, and they have that reaction. And so what can end up happening is the dog goes, okay, well, I got their attention. It wasn't great this time, but you know what? The next time I'm looking for that attention, if I can't get it other ways, well, I know what worked. So absolutely. The more that we can say, okay, this behavior, I don't love it, I'm going to just redirect you to something else instead and set up that management in the future so it's not even possible for you to do this version of things to get my attention. I'll show you how to get my attention in other better ways instead.
Oh, that's awesome. I think it's so tough when you see different pet parents come with their different behaviors, and a lot of people obviously go to like hitting their dogs or just like really mistreating. That's not going to solve anything. But unfortunately, a lot of people think we're being mean to dogs by creating door buddy, by creating an aid that helps your dogs out of harm, and also create a physical boundary.
Right.
Obviously, there's a big difference between the negative, like hitting your dog, and creating boundaries. But is there a thin line in, okay, let's try and help our dog with this, a reinforcement, being a bit too far?
Yeah, so, and I'm going to have you repeat that because you did break up just right at the end, so I want to make sure I answer the right question.
So, with door buddy, people saying it's being mean to dogs, and that's right. That's not our intention at all. We're trying to keep our dogs safe. We love our dogs. Is there a thin line between trying to help your dog with a different reinforcement and then creating a negative association or a negative reaction?
Yeah. So realistically, when we're using things like baby gates or door buddies or anything that prevents them to have access, if we are viewing that as a problem because then they don't have access to that room, maybe that is kind of a big problem for them because that room also happens to be where you work all day, so you're preventing them from having access to you. Can we change the environment? Can we teach them to be comfortable hanging out outside of that room for a few hours while we do our Instagram lives and things like that, so that they actually think, oh, okay, this is my own time. I'm doing my own thing in my space. That can be really, really helpful to help them be successful without resorting to, you know, the other end of things and punishments that are scary or hurt them or anything like that.
Oh, that's good. We've got our next Facebook ad right there.
Perfect.
And now, so we've got a few questions that came through, Sarah. So I'm just going to quickly peek over. So excuse me, guys, if you see me looking to the side. I'm just looking at my notes. One of the questions we had was, what are some of the basics you can do to bringing home a new dog? Whether that's bringing a new dog home to a baby or to a cat, like what can we do to help them feel most comfortable as possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So anytime we're bringing home a new dog, whether it's a puppy or an adult, and we have kids or cats or other dogs or no other animals in the house, we want to make sure that we give them time to settle in, right? To decompress from whatever stressful experience was coming to your house, which could have been a flight or a car ride or just being in a shelter or a crazy environment. We want to give them time to decompress first and make sure that they have their own space, and then anyone else in the household has their own space, right? Kids have their place to play, cats have their place that's quiet and away from the dogs, so that everybody can kind of settle into this concept and get into a routine before we're really trying to build relationships and starting to have them interact together and starting to have people over to meet the new dog and all of those things that happen. We want to give a little bit of time before we do that.
Oh yeah, that's so good. We always recommend people just going slow. Don't rush that initiative. Do what feels good for your dog, for your family, and until you find a rhythm. That's really good to hear. I know scent plays a large part in making your dog feel settled. So again, if you're bringing home like a baby to a dog or a cat to a dog, it's always good to do scents. Is that something that you recommend?
Yeah, so I actually recommend a very subtle version of this, because a lot of people have heard, oh, you know, get the scent blanket and put it right where your dog is and make it all so exciting. We don't actually want that. We just want them to get familiar with the scent and having it in their environment without making it a big deal. That's the big thing. Don't make the scent a big deal. Otherwise, the baby or the cat or the other dog becomes a much bigger deal when they finally are in the same room. So having that scent switch, but keeping it very low key, just sort of there in the environment, but not a big deal is a great way to do that.
Okay, awesome. And again, you know, Door Buddy is a great way to introduce dogs and cats and dogs and other dogs just through that little opening. It's always awesome to see different customers use that when they get pets.
Yeah. I always recommend kind of that closed door at first so everybody feels safe, but it is such a good stepping stone from closed door to open door.
It really just adds that extra peace of mind for pet owners to be like, okay, I know my dogs are separate or my cats are separate and they're safe, but here's a little to introduce each other. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Relationships, obviously everyone thinks cats and dogs can't be friends. But that's not the case, as we all know, I'm sure.
Right.
Is there anything that you can recommend to this like behavior? For example, again, my one Dachshund, James, he hates cats. I don't know what happened in his previous life, but he hates cats, doesn't want anything to do with them. Almost got his ear scratched off by one. So we obviously don't have cats at home.
Right. Yeah. And a traumatic experience like that can obviously be a tough thing to overcome with new cats. Although I will say, again, every cat is an individual and every dog is an individual. And sometimes you can have dogs who don't do well with certain cats, but they do really well with other types of cats. So it's not always this is never going to happen. With one bad experience, now you're going to know your dog best and what's appropriate. so don't change anything if you're sure. But definitely, you know, even my own dog, he's lived with cats in the past. He's had some not great experiences. And so we really do take it on a case by case, you know, is this a good cat friend for you or not? And that's okay if it's not.
Yeah, sometimes it's just not going to happen, and there's no.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like we've already discussed, introducing them slowly, taking your time, and really working each cat and dog's individual needs is a really great way to start. And obviously, with trainers like you, that's awesome to have that extra support.
Yes, and I will say, you know, really important for cats is plenty of vertical space so they have the chance to get out of the way and be part of things without maybe being on that dog's level to start off with. So definitely, I'm a huge proponent of vertical space for cats.
Yeah, our cats love their space, don't they?
Yes.
And then the next question I have, which is while we're talking about old wives' tales, can old dogs really not learn new tricks?
They definitely can. They're just as able to learn new tricks as any other age of dog. The main thing with older dogs that we want to take into consideration is their physical abilities, right? So their medical health situation and their physical abilities. They may not be able to sit repeatedly like you are able to do with younger dogs who are very physically healthy, laying down on a hard surface versus a soft surface. Those may be challenging depending on the dog. So we really want to take, again, that individual dog's needs into consideration, but absolutely they can learn new tricks, and they love doing it too because it's a way to engage and communicate with their humans.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, a lot of people always assume dogs and animals in general are so different. But if you think about the average person as they get older, they always want to learn new tricks and always want to learn new things and keep the brain active. So I'm sure it's the same in animals too. That's really awesome.
It is.
And next question is actually from a good friend of ours, Sara, another Sara over at Foster Babes. She asked, what is the best way to socialize and train a puppy when they aren't fully vaccinated?
Yes, that's a great question. And it's a really important question because a socialization window for puppies it's really only up to that 14 or 16 weeks. And most dogs aren't fully vaccinated until after that. So we really do need to take advantage of the socialization window. And there's a lot of different ways that we can both do socialization and training with our puppies while they're still very young. So with training, there's a lot of virtual training options now. I actually even have a puppy preschool in your inbox for folks to get started on building those skills before they're even really taking their puppy out of the house. But I definitely recommend that we look for opportunities where we can give our puppy some exposure to the world without it actually needing to be right there and be any sort of threat to their health. So I recommend generally doing what I call little socialization adventures where maybe you even just go sit out in your front yard on your porch and let your puppy just smell the things that are out there, hear the things that are out there, see that there's a whole big world out there beyond just your house. So they start to understand and process that. You can also drive to, a shopping market parking lot and, from a distance so that nobody's really trying to interact with you or, bring their dogs over or anything like that. We can just kind of hang out in our car with the windows down and again, let the puppy process and smell and hear what's going on in the world. Those are great ways to start. Some people will, set a crate up in a wagon so that they can go out with their dogs or get a dog stroller. But we can, definitely do it from just the very basics of using that vehicle that you have to do that.
Awesome. I know while we talk about puppy training, is some kind of controversies from what we've seen in our research about getting your puppy on a schedule, especially for potty training.
Yes.
Do you find that works better for dogs, or is it actually better to go kind of at your own pace and at your own schedule?
Yes. So I always recommend that my puppy parents record when the dog is going to the bathroom as they're starting to set up a schedule, because we want to make sure it's the right schedule for the person and their puppy, because there's a lot of general advice, when the puppy is, 4 months and they can hold it for this long, and every puppy is going to be different. So it's really important if you track it, you'll figure out, okay, well, you're only going every hour and a half. So we can make sure that that's what the window is for you, but we don't need to go out every 30 minutes like we thought we did at first.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so I know on Pinterest we have a pin where it's just like a loose, obviously, guideline
Right.
schedule. And it's always like take your puppy out in 2 hours. You also have to kind of teach them, right? Kind of show them this is where we go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Go do your business.
Exactly, exactly. And you always want to take your puppy out to go to the bathroom after they've just woken up or eat or they're drinking water. You're going to take them out soon, or even after play, because a lot of times they'll ignore that they have to go to the bathroom because they're having so much fun. And then as soon as play stops, oh, there's an accident.
It's so similar to having a toddler.
Right?
And then my question, this is kind of, I don't want to say selfish, but also selfish on my part, because as I mentioned, my 2 dogs. People who have dogs with separation anxiety, these dogs distracted when they're not home, when you're not home with them. You always come home to them like food in a litter box, or like tearing apart toilet paper. We've all seen the meme of like the guilty dog in the bathroom with it. What would you advise parents to do in this situation? Would like, how do we make our pets feel secure when we're not physically able to do it?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things to address as well before we kind of even get into that security element. Occasionally, people will think their dog has separation distress or separation anxiety because of destructive behaviors in the home, but it may actually just be boredom. They don't know how to be alone, so they just start looking for stuff to do, and they're doing very, all that destructive stuff can be, oh, well, I found something to chew on, and that's normal, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to get into the trash. I'm going to get into the litter box. These are all very normal behaviors. So we really want to make sure that the concern is evaluated by people who are experts in separation anxiety to really make sure, is this just boredom and we need to give more enrichment and those kinds of things? Or is this a general, a real phobia that this dog has, and we really need to make sure we're intervening and helping this dog in ways that are going to support and reduce that phobia? So definitely working with a professional trainer who is an expert in separation anxiety. I don't even work it because I have so many colleagues that are so expert at it that I refer, and it's a perfect candidate for virtual training, because again, the idea is you're not going to be there, so you don't have to be there. Right? So making sure that we're doing that, also working with a vet that specializes in behavior, a veterinary behaviorist for separation anxiety cases, is huge, because there's a lot of support that you can get from your veterinarian as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love a good vet. They're
Yes.
often hard to come by, but when you find the right one, often makes it good.
Yes, absolutely.
So before we close off our live, I just wanted to give everyone one more opportunity to ask questions that they may have for you, Sarah. Any dog questions out there, pop them through in the comment box below. But before we head out, I just want to get your opinion, as a dog trainer, as, we can say dog expert, if you will. Why would you recommend Door Buddy to other fur parents? Like, what is it that you really love about our product? If you don't mind, tooting our own horn.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love it. It's the perfect solution for and for everyone to be able to use that door that they're trying to keep their dog from going in. Because if you think about the Door Buddy versus baby gates, there's a lot of reasons why baby gates aren't a good option based on an individual's physical capability. And the Door Buddy is so easy to use. It's so easy. You just unlatch it and you've got your regular door. So it doesn't really hinder that movement in and out when you do need to get in and out. And also we have the little buffer that we can put on the door so that it's not moving. There's no danger of any sort of situation where the door closes and it leaves someone out or it leaves someone in. So it's a really thoughtful product, and I really love it and love recommending it to my clients.
Yeah, that foam door stuff, it makes the world of a difference. Yes. I always worry, like, I'm with my cat's tail slammed on the door, my toddler's like, no, we're one step ahead of you. We've got to, so it does make a huge difference to our pet safety, because that's all we want. We all just want to,
exactly,
for dogs, for cats, for toddlers, for just need a door buddy, I guess.
Exactly.
one last thing, Sarah. We obviously have to announce our winner of the free dog. So I'm really excited that our other friend, Sarah, over at Five Babes, is the winner of that. So Sarah,
Yay!
I'll get that sorted for you. Congratulations.
Perfect. Awesome.
But thank you so much for joining our live today, Sarah. It was so awesome to chat to you and so awesome just to pick your brain about dog training.
Absolutely. I had a blast.
I definitely feel more empowered to go and tackle my 2 dogs and try and get their separation anxiety controlled and everything. But just one last time, Sarah, do you want to plug where people can find you?
Yes. Absolutely. So yes, I offer virtual training. I've got online courses. You can find me on here at Smiles Dog Training. You can also visit my website, smilesdogtraining.net. And I would love to connect with everybody that joined us today.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And I hope you all enjoyed this live. Hopefully we can do this a few more times. And I'll see you all around the internet very soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
Have a great day, Sarah.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.